Hi everybody, so we're starting a new project. I am going to make 2 custom dressers. I'm actually gonna probably make 4. They're gonna be cherry finished. 2 of them are gonna be shop storage cabinet things. There's no hardware in these cabinets other than the drawer pulls and the hinges, so there's no drawer slides. Mechanical drawer slides can range from anywhere from $40 for one set of drawer slides all the way up to over $100 for the real fancy ones. As economically and as simply as possible, it's all going to be wood. Pocket screws to put the cabinets together. The outside is going to be 1-inch cherry. I'm just going to batch them out and see what happens. It'll work. It's just wood. It's first time making cabinets. I think it'll work. You just measure it and screw it together and boom, you're done, right? Yeah. First step, bring in the plywood. Yee-haw. So I learned a long time ago that even though plywood has a relatively good and straight flat edge coming out of the factory, there's always a little bit of chum and there's a chance that it's not quite square. So before I start anything, I'm going to use my track saw because 3/4 inch is a little bit too hard to handle by myself on the table saw. So I'm going to use my track saw, true up this edge, and then use this as my reference edge for every measurement and everything that I do, and make sure everything's nice and square right out of the chute. I don't need the full width or the full length on this sheet, so a little bit of scrap is not a big deal.
I used my track saw to cut the sheets of plywood down to more manageable sizes. From there I went to the table saw to rip strips that will be the toe kicks, stretchers, and sides of the drawers. Finally, I set up stop blocks on my miter saw to cut out all the internal pieces. Setting up stop blocks is the easiest way to make accurate and repeatable cuts when you're batching out lots of pieces.
All right, so what we have right now, the side panels are cut out. They're 45 by 22 inches. And then I have the stringers and the toe kick and the first spacer for the first drawer. I also have the spacers or the slides for the drawers, what I'm using as slides, instead of mechanical hardware. So I'm going to attach all this stuff together with pocket screws. It's going to be my first big project with pocket screws, and I haven't used a pocket hole jig before, but I got this one from Craig, and it comes very highly recommended, and it's very simple, so I'm going to give it a shot.
Later, I figured out how to hook up my shop vac to the pocket hole jig. It does make it a lot cleaner, and if you don't use a shop vac, it will clog up with sawdust, and it makes it hard to cut the pocket holes cleanly.
I just have to do that about 50 more times.
It took me about 4 hours to cut all the pocket holes, so I just put on my headphones, listened to some tunes, and got into it. Also, I pre-assembled some of the toe kicks and the corner pieces. It made the fit a lot tighter and a lot easier than doing it when the cabinets were in place.
It's my handy dandy little spacing tool that I've made.
The first case turned out exactly as planned. The extra plywood for my slides is a bit overkill, but it adds a lot of rigidity and strength to the case. I left an extra 1/8 of an inch gap on each of the slots, both horizontally and vertically. That'll keep the drawers from binding up as they go in and out. I was worried that the cabinet would be a little wobbly, but those pocket screws made this thing rock solid.
We have 6 panels. That's going to be 3 cabinets. They are 22 by 45. They're going to be the same as that one over there. So these are all my cut pieces. So I have all the stretchers, toe kicks for actually four cabinets. And then these are the drawer spacers on the inside of the cabinet for the one that still needs drawers. There's going to be two that have shelves instead of drawers. And then these are my spacers for that. My cut list is pretty efficient. This is what I ended up with after cutting 4 sheets of plywood. So yeah, I think the cut list is pretty efficient. Rinse and repeat, time to assemble. So this is what we ended up with after day 2. We've got 2 drawer cabinets, and those are pretty much identical. And then I have 2 shelf cabinets. All right, so the next stage, after rinse and repeat cutting all of these short and long pieces for the drawers, and before we start drilling pocket holes, we need to do a dry fit and make sure I'm putting the pocket holes in the right pieces of wood. So this is my drawer bottom, and we've got gaps on either side to slide in the rails. I made the side pieces the exact same length as the bottom, which will make it easier for lining it up when I'm ready to nail everything, glue everything and nail everything together. So these are the inside pieces. So I need to do the pocket holes on the inside pieces going into the side pieces. If you don't check ahead of time, you end up drilling the wrong piece of wood. And if you do a pocket hole on this piece of wood, it's gonna go out like that into nothing. And if I put the piece like this, now the drawer is too long. So it's important to do a dry fit. So I need to do pocket holes on the insides of the short pieces. And then I also switched out my bit and changed out my collar to 1/2 inch material. That's very important so you don't drill all the way through the material. Plus, it's always good to do a test piece with some scrap ahead of time, just in case. And then I've also switched out my pocket hole screws to 1 inch instead of 1.25 inch. 1.25 for 3/4 inch, inch for 1/2 inch. So everything should be copacetic, but I'm gonna do a test piece first to make sure.
I tried various clamping techniques for the drawers, when I was screwing them together. This is the easiest and quickest way I found, just using 2 parallel clamps and using the rails of the clamps to hold the piece in place. I also screwed in the screws from the back side of the drawer, so when you pull the drawer out, you don't see the heads of the screws on the inside of the drawer. I only had a 1/4 inch of play on the drawers to make sure that they wouldn't bind up or touch the sides of the inside of the case. I achieved this by just marking the center of the plate and the center of the drawer case and then matching those up and nailing down the front edge. Then I re-verified that on the back side to make sure that the drawer was on the plate squarely. It really wasn't that difficult, and they turned out perfect. Then I ran a pencil line where the inset side edge would be, and I ran my brad nails about a 1/4 inch inside of that mark. It worked really well, but I did shank a few, so keep your fingers out of the way or it's gonna sting.
Cut.
Thankfully, all the drawers came together really nice and square, but it did take a lot of time. You got to be patient with this step. If you get one drawer twisted, you're going to have to rip it apart and start over. I did have to do some minor sanding on the edges just to make sure everything was flush. But once I was done with that, I marked both the cabinets, one with red, one with green, 1 through 6, to make sure that I wouldn't get them mixed up and I wouldn't have any fit or finish issues when I was ready to put everything together. Next time we're going to make the bases for these dressers, make the tops, sides, doors, and drawers out of cherry, and I'm going to show you an inexpensive way to make hard wax oil finish that'll make any piece of furniture look like $1 million. Until next time, love you. See you.